Welcome back to the MERN Stack series. Today we're going to continue looking at JWTs and see how we can utilize them to create our very first social media application endpoint. Let's take a look at what we did in the last video. We created our first login endpoint and we introduced JWT tokens to ensure that we transfer data securely back to our client. We also returned this token back to the client and we're hoping to use it in our future endpoints. We also created our very first collection on ThunderClient and we saved a couple of requests here for easy access. Let's go ahead and create a brand new endpoint that will actually utilize this token that we generated here. So let's suppose we're creating a social media application, and this is the project that we're going to follow along for the rest of this course as well. Here I'm going to create a post API endpoint, and I want to suppose that the user is actually trying to create a new post. So let's make it something like this, /posts/create, and now we can just create our function here. Now, when we're actually sending the post request here, we're going to be sending the token with this request, and the token should ideally come inside our request headers. If you remember how to do that, that's great. If not, you can just follow along and we're going to go through that again. In Thunder Client, if you're trying to send the post request to this endpoint, don't confuse this post with this post. Over here, I'm assuming that this is talking about social media posts on our website. So when we're trying to send the post request to this endpoint, we'd want the token to come in the headers. And the way we would do this is the standard way to send a token inside a request. We'd select the authorization header, and inside here you can write bearer and a space, and then you're going to put the value of your token. I don't remember the value of my token, of course, so I'm just going to go over here, open up my login request, click on send, make sure I run the server first, and now I can send the request. And right here I have the token. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. Just hit copy, go over into our request, and after bearer, we're going to put a space and then we're going to put our token. So this is the syntax that we will actually use to send our token. How would we actually get this header inside our endpoint? Well, it would look something like this. I would type in something like const token equals rec.headers.authorization, and then I'm going to, so this is going to give me the entire statement that we have inside our authorization, which is bearer and then this whole string. So we just want the token part of this. So what we can do is on this string that we're getting from this authorization, we can actually just apply the split function in JavaScript, and we can split it on the space. So this means it's going to create an array where the first element is going to be bearer and the second element is going to be the token. So of course, I want the second element of this array, which would be at the first index. So I would do something like this to access the token. I can console log the token here as well. And let's just run that and see what happens. So let's close our server, run it again, and send this request on ThunderClient and see what happens. So you can see right here, our token is being console logged right here, which means that this is working great. This is working perfectly. Let's go back here. And now we can start using this token and actually start decoding the information from it. For that, we have a function of JWT, which would be something like this. You would type in jwt.verify, and the first argument is going to be our token, which we got from the authorization headers. And the second argument is going to be our secret key. So our secret key was defined right here. Let's go ahead and copy that, paste it here, and just put that as the argument. Now let's console log the decoded token to see what that looks like. Close the server, run it again, and send the request. Now we can see the decoded token is being printed here, and it's actually got all this information in there, which is the username, name, and email, which we encoded in the token, as well as some additional information that is encoded by default. We have to create a new user model to save the posts that are going to be made by our users on our social media platform. So let's go ahead into our models folder and select create a new file, and we're just going to make a file called post.js, and you can go ahead and copy some of this code right there just so that you don't have to rewrite it, which is going to be creating a simple mongoose schema. We can have the username of the user who actually posted it, and then maybe we can have a title, which would be a string, and we can also have some text, which is a string. So for now, our social media posts are going to be kind of like Tumblr, where we have a simple title and text. Let's make sure we change these usernames back to post. So let's change that to post. Let's change this to post. This could be post schema. And finally, this would be also post and post schema. Back inside server.js, we're going to be assuming that the post title and text is going to be sent to us inside the request body. Let's type in const title text, and that would be equal to the request.body. This is an easy way to extract this information from the request body. We can simply create a new post, use that model here, and in that model we can add in our username, title, and text. Of course, we have to remember to import the model right here, so we can just add it underneath this import, and it would look exactly like this. So we can just add const post equals require dot slash models slash post. We were creating our new post, and this is how we would create it. And then we would do new post dot save. And lastly, we can send a success message back to our user. So let's add that. Posted successfully. Now we would also want to add an await here, and that should be pretty much it. It would be a good practice to wrap this entire thing inside a try catch block in case of any errors. Let's go ahead and do that as well and remove our unnecessary console logs from here. So let's make our try block, and then we'll have our catch block inside it. And we can send a status code accordingly. Let's paste this inside our try block. And we can just select this and hit Control KF to format the code in VS Code. Now let's run our server again and go ahead and send this request and see what happens. Okay, an internal server error occurred where username is not defined. Let's go back and fix this. So we didn't define the username over here, and that is because we didn't actually get the username from the token. So this is my mistake. I'm just going to go ahead and get that username from the token. Const username equals decoded token dot username. So this is going to get the username property from inside our token, decoded token object. Let's fix that and run this again. And you can see the benefit of console logging your error right here, because you can actually see exactly where your error occurred. You can send this request one more time, and here we have posted successfully. Let's check our MongoDB Compass to see what this update would look like. If we go over into our MERN application DB database, we'll see a new collection has been created by the name of posts. And inside here, we can see the very post that we have created. However, you can clearly see that there's no text or title included here, and that's because we didn't send it in the request body. If we go over here, we can simply send this content inside the request body in JSON format, which would include a title, for example, post title, and then we can have text, which would be, we can just add any dummy text here. Let's send this request one more time. We get the posted successfully message, and in here, if we refresh our collection, we'll be able to see that brand new post. and this is how we should be sending our requests. So you can see what would happen if we don't have a title and text included. We have it. Let's go ahead and add the error handling for that. So we can just simply type in if not title or not text, which means if either of these fields is missing, we can just return res.status 400, and let's just send a JSON response, which will have a message, and we can maybe say insufficient fields or insufficient information provided. And that is all we need to handle that little error bit. Let's go ahead and refactor our code a little bit to make it follow the best practices. So if we look at the secret key, we're actually defining it in two of our endpoints separately. And that doesn't look too good because at the rate we're going to have to define it in many more endpoints. The solution to this is actually to create an env file, which is going to store such sensitive information for us. Let's go ahead here into our main folder, and we're going to create a new file, and it's going to be called .env. So you can see this little settings icon pop up here, and inside here we can define our secret key, and let's just define that right here. Now instead of using the secret key like we're using here, we're going to remove these definitions that we're using. Let's remove that, and let's remove this as well. We have to install a new package for this. Let's go over to our terminal. It's looking really messy, so we're just going to type in clear and clear the terminal, and then we're going to type in npm install.env. Hit enter, wait for that to install. In the meanwhile, we can just add this line of code here, require .env and then .config. So we're just going to call this function. And now we can use the secret key like so. If instead of using this secret key, we're going to write in process.env.secret key. Similarly, down here, let's change the secret key to process.env.secret key. And this is the best practice that we can follow for storing such sensitive information and accessing it. And if you're using GitHub to commit your code alongside, never commit the .env file and make sure you put it inside the .gitignore, because this is usually going to contain sensitive data. That is all for today. We created our create post endpoint for our social media application. There's quite a bit missing from this, and we're going to cover it in the next video. So stay tuned and happy coding.